Okay, and welcome to KBLP. This is your host, Denise Harris, with Encounters of the Strange Kind. We're going to delve a little deeper tonight into some sci-fi facts and fiction. We're going to discuss some directors, movies, and TV shows. We're going to discuss the influence by science and see how many movies were actually based on facts. So it should be a fun evening. So what do you think? What's your favorite sci-fi TV show and what's your favorite sci-fi movie? Let me know what you think about that. And we're going to discuss kind of a history of sci-fi films, fiction films. It took several decades before the genre was taken seriously, but since the 1960s, major sci-fi films have succeeded in pulling in a large audience. It's really, really popular. And films of this genre have become a regular staple of the film industry. And of course, it led the way in special effects. The 30s and 40s, they were largely influenced because of the sound and dialogue in movies, okay? Audiences began to pursue films with more escapist themes. These more serious type films were kind of left in the dust there. After the failure of big budget 1938 American film Just Imagine, the studios are really kind of hesitant to finance expensive futuristic sets for this type of film. Although the 1936 British film, Things to Come, by H.G. Wells, of course, projected the world 100 years into the future, and it forecasted the advent of World War II. But it was a box office flop, and films with serious speculation would largely go away until the 50s. The decade did see a rise of film serials, low budget, quickly produced shorts, heroic adventures, futuristic. Echoes of the style can be seen in science fiction and action films today, like the Bond films, James Bond films. You had the Flash Gordon films, Buck Rogers, in the 25th century. And they continued to use sci-fi elements like space travel, high-tech gadgets, of course, plots for world domination, which I do every morning with my coffee, and your mad scientists, of course. Other elements of sci-fi were carried into the horror genre, driven by, of course, Universal Studios, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, many Universal horror films, The Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, of course, the mad scientist type, and Experiments Gone Wrong. Sequels to successful horror films continued into World War II and the 40s, saw the development of patriotic superhero serials, Superman short subjects. Science fiction as an independent genre was not quite ready for that. In the 70s, the era of manned trips to the moon, saw a resurgence in the sci-fi film industry. In the 70s, you had Star Wars, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, both released in 1977, contained that mystical element reminiscent of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And the space discoveries of the 70s create a growing sense of marvel about the universe. The early 70s also saw the continued theme of paranoia, humanity under threat from ecological or technological adversaries of its own. Notable films of this period included, of course, Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. 1971, THX 1138. That's Man versus Brainwashing. Silent Running, Ecology. And the sequels to Planet of the Apes, Man versus Evolution, and of course Westworld. Remember that with Yul Brynner, Man versus Robot. We also had the conspiracy thriller film. It was a popular staple of this period. Paranormal plots by national government or corporates had replaced the implied enemies of the 1950s, such as Alien, 1979, Capricorn 1, 1977, Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Logan's Run, 1976, Soylent Green, remember that one, 1973, and Future World, 1976. The science fiction comedy also had what may have been finest hours in the 70s. You had Woody Allen's Sleeper and Dan O'Bannon's Dark Star in 74. In 79, 3 sci-fi films appeared. You had Star Trek The Motion Picture. Oh, loved that one. It brought the much-loved television series to the big screen. Alien, up the ante on how scary a screen monster could be. In 1979, Time After Time pitted H.G. Wells against Jack the Ripper with a screenplay by Nicholas Meyer, who would go later on to direct 2 of the installments of the Star Trek series. 79 also saw Walt Disney Productions venture into the science fiction genre with The Black Hole. Okay. The emergence of the World Wide Web in the 90s in the cyberpunk genre spawned several internet-themed films. The Lawnmower Man. That was such a sad movie. I'm sorry. That movie was bad. The Lawnmower Man, I'm sorry. That was pretty bad. That was in 92. And Virtuosity in 95. It dealt with threats to the network from a human-computer interface. Johnny Mnemonic, 1995, and Total Recall had the memories of their main characters modified. Then you had The Matrix. Believe it or not, The Matrix is 1999. Wow. Doesn't seem that long, does it? And that created the machine-run virtual prison for humanity. And the internet also provided the ready medium for film fandom, who could more directly support or criticize such media franchise film series such as Star Trek and Star Wars. And of course, disaster films remain popular, with themes updated to reflect the recent influences. You had Armageddon, 98. Deep Impact, 98. Independence Day, 1996. Oh, I can't believe that. Wow. And that kind of recycled the alien invasion films. Advances in genetic science were also featured in Jurassic Park in 1993. Excuse me, wow. As the decade progressed, computers played an important role in both the addition of special effects and the production of films. As the software developed in sophistication, it was used to produce more complicated effects, your CGI effects, basically. The 2000s sci-fi films seemed to turn away from space travel, and was fantasy was dominant. Except for Star Trek and Star Wars films, the only films set off Earth that appeared in the first half of the 2000s were Serenity, Titan AE, and of course, the poorly received Mission to Mars and Red Planet. Fantasy and superhero films were abounding, though, as did earthbound sci-fi such as The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions. Science fiction has returned to being a tool for political commentary in recent times, with films like AI, Artificial Intelligence, and Minority Report, with the former questioning the materialism of today's world, and the latter questioning the political situations surrounding the world post 9/11. By the middle of the decade, the theater audience had begun to decline, and this was reflected in the numbers attending sci-fi movie releases of this period. Because you had your home theater experience systems, and you could be home. But Serenity, yes. Film studios began placing product advertisements prior to the start of the films in theaters, seeking another means to enhance their bottom line. So that's kind of a history of science fiction. I think we talked about this a little before. Okay, now, Serenity, is that your favorite? Yeah, Terminator was another one. Yeah, I agree. Man versus machine, of course. So, yes, that was definitely one. What's your favorite sci-fi movie, Lori? I don't know if I have a favorite. I love Ghosts of Mars with by John Carpenter. That was a creepy film. Let me tell you what. That was creepy. Ghosts of Mars was good though. I love that movie. But here, these are 15 sci-fi movies and shows you had no idea were based on true events. So this is going to be good. Based on real events is one of the more, it's really overused phrase in all of cinema. While the occasional movie adheres closely to reality, Hollywood normally can't resist turning up the volume on true stories. When sci-fi movies provide the rare opportunity to play the based on a true story card, they will take it to the bank, of course. Highlander? Really? That was good. I don't know if I have an absolute favorite movie, though, because there's a lot of them out there I really like. TV shows, though, my favorite of all time was Stargate SG-1. Yes, Stargate SG-1, you heard me right. I love that series. I never missed a Friday. Okay, so when sci-fi movies provide the rare opportunity to play based on a true story, of course, producers take it to the bank. Too good to resist. Even Ridley Scott jumped on the board, Phoenix Forgotten, the latest true alien invasion story to be set to film. Any sci-fi flick that claims to have historical origins should be thoroughly vetted. There is a surprising number of movies and shows that take their cues from reality. Even Stranger Things is one of them. Be warned, though. Oh, I love Stargate SG-1. That is my favorite. But be warned, it's okay to dip your toes into real-life background of Eleven and her Dungeons and Dragons playing companions, but once you enter the rabbit hole, there's no going back. From Close Encounters of the Third Kind to District 9, there are plenty of movies and shows that have a firm foundation in truth. The first one, in the spring of 1997, a bizarre event took place in the skies over Phoenix, Arizona. Out of the desert darkness came an array of lights that lined the night sky. 2 lights turned to 3, then to 4, 5, 6, and 7, as they hovered in a vaguely ship-like formation. This event is widely known as the Phoenix Light, and you can watch it for yourself. You can watch it on YouTube, right there. Needless to say, this occurrence gave great hope to career ufologists and inevitably led to a movie adaptation. Do we know which one that was? It was Phoenix Forgotten. It may take some liberties with the disappearance of investigative teens following the incident, but the hysteria and panic following the lights is definitely rooted in fact. Even Arizona governor later admitted the event was beyond earthly explanation. So, the movie is called Phoenix Forgotten. It is based on true facts. This one I was surprised at, that it was rooted in fact, which was Battle of Los Angeles. In February 42, well into the carnage of World War II, Los Angeles was in a state of emergency. Just 8 weeks after the Japanese Navy sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, many of the armed forces feared Hollywood would be the next target. On February 25th, a blackout order was issued on the city, turning it into abject darkness. In the middle of the night, air raid sirens resounded across LA as anti-aircraft artillery shellacked the sky. Searchlights flooded the horizon and revealed an identified object that seemed to hover over the city. Nearly 1,500 rounds of ammo were fired. 3 civilians died in car crashes as a result of the chaos, and 2 succumbed to heart attacks in the panic. When the smoke cleared and the morning sun rose, there was no sign